What's going on, guys? Welcome to the official reaction for Erik Ten Hags Press conference. Obviously, for the game between Galatasaray and Manchester United in Turkey at Rams Park. And we've had some quotes coming out from, obviously, the gaffer himself. But he's also got Bruno Fernandes alongside him as well. So what are we doing? Let's just dive straight into him. I'm going to do Erik Ten Hag's quotes first. And then we'll talk about Bruno Fernandes, some of the stuff he said. I think about Garnacho's interesting. But Ten Hag has been speaking about Pellistri. He's been speaking about Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes, even though he's sat next to him. He's been speaking about Kobe Mainoo. He's been speaking about the atmosphere in Galatasaray. So a lot of interesting things to get into. So make sure you're locked in. Make sure you're leaving a like on the video for us. Like I said, the first thing straight off the bat, which a lot of people was 50-50 on. They didn't know whether they'd be available or not, but Antony and Højlund are both available. They are both available, which is obviously fantastic news. We had that account on Twitter who's been relatively reliable over the past couple of months. Inside knowledge on Manchester United. I have no idea how, but it's Insider United is called on Twitter. He said that Højlund is running, but probably won't be available. So a lot of people took that as gospel. Thought he won, but he is available and Antony is available, whether people like Antony or not. Obviously, completely different conversation, but they are there and they are ready to be picked in the squad. Now, the travelling squad going to Galatasaray is Varane, Maguire, Lindelof, Dalot, Reguilon, Shaw, Wan-Bissaka, Amrabat, Mainoo, Hannibal, Van der Beek, Fernandes, Fletcher, Gore, McTominay, Højlund, Hugo, Antony, Garnacho, Pellistri, Martial, and Rashford. And then you have the goalkeepers as well. So let's just dive into the Erik Ten Hag quotes. I've got Bruno quote there. I don't know why that's up. Let me just swap that around. Put this over here. Yeah, that's fine. Right, so he's been speaking about Kobe Mainoo. I think these ones, well, these quotes in particular are the most interesting ones. He got asked if there were any fears around picking Kobe Mainoo tomorrow, given the intense atmosphere. This was something that we discussed on the preview. With him being such a young kid, 18 years old, somewhere like Galatasaray is just like, whoa, completely different realm. I know Everton was intense. And obviously, you had all the things with the points deductions and stuff like that. But Galatasaray is next level. It's like top 3 hostile atmospheres in the world. So he got asked about this. He said, "Are you worried about picking him? He might be nervous, whatever, blah, blah, blah." And he said, "No, we don't have fear. If players are good enough, they're old enough," which we always like to hear. We've seen that a few times. On his performance and him in general, he said, "We're very pleased, but it is one performance. You have to do it on a consistent basis. We are confident he can do it, but you have to prove it. You are only as good as your last game. Enjoy it first, but don't keep focused on that game. Don't get carried away effectively," which I think is very wise from Erik Ten Hag, because obviously after that game, United fans do tend to get carried away with themselves sometimes. They see him play like that and they're like, "Oh my God, star boy, he'll be at Real Madrid in 5 years' time. He's going to be winning Champions Leagues and all this kind of stuff." And he's obviously got the talent. He looks super, super impressive. I thought even to play that role as well, if you're coming in as a winger, let's say, for example, and you're young and you just, you've got that the shackles off you, you can just run at people like Garnacho can. I think it's much more difficult to go in that kind of 6 role or playing as an 8, whatever you want to call it, in midfield and hold that midfield as an 18-year-old kid in the Premier League against Everton. Like, says a lot about the guy, to be honest. And I know a lot of the coaches that I've worked with him as well have said he never gets too hot, he never gets too cold. He's a very measured individual. And I think that is exactly what we need right now, because we've tried Christian Eriksen there. Look, Christian Eriksen is fantastic on the ball. He has that, that kind of football intelligence, but after 60 minutes, his legs are fucked. He's tired. He's not great physically. Kobe Mainoo could do both sides of the game really, really well. I'd actually be interested to see Casemiro and Kobe Mainoo in a double pivot with Bruno Fernandes ahead of him. How long before we see that? If we even see that, I'm not entirely sure, but I think that would be a balanced midfield, because Kobe Mainoo could easily do that 8 role as well. So yeah, really, really exciting talent, but like Ten Hag said, don't overcook it. On the difference between Man United from the defeat earlier in the season to now, he says, "We have improved, a good progress. We are more stable, winning games. Big difference from the first moment we played them." I don't know if you guys agree with that. Let me know in the comments section. He says, "You have to stay calm in your head. Don't get too emotional. You have to control it. Don't give them anything. Don't give the referee a moment they can take. We know how to deal with it. We have to make it our game. And I thought the prime example of this was in that Everton game. I'm not saying Garnacho's going to score another bicycle kick, but in that Everton game, with Garnacho doing that within the first 3 minutes, kind of shut the crowd up and kind of shocked him a little bit. They did start to grow back into the game in the first half and kind of like the last 20 minutes, but it shut them up. So if you can get an early goal, you quiet that, you dampen that crowd down a little bit. And I think that's obviously easier said than do, but yeah. What else have we got? First, we have to do it, win. Then we had to see what it will do with the team. The same as we beat Everton, a difficult game in that environment. If you can beat them, it can give you confidence. One thing I will say, obviously, if we lose this game, we're out of the Champions League. It's as simple as that. I don't know the specifics. Maybe someone in TikTok or YouTube can tell me the difference. But do you drop down into Europa League when you're third, right? Is that correct? If you're fourth in the in your group, you don't drop down to the Conference League, do you? I'm not sure how it works. Someone, like I said, someone in the chat will know. Island Devils TV says, I don't think Casemiro is responsible and mobile enough to safeguard Kobe from extra work. I think Amrabat will complement him more. Thing is with Amrabat, though, I haven't been impressed with him. I know it's a very small kind of sample size, but he looks a little bit sluggish when he's on the pitch. I thought his first performance, his debut, really impressed me. The switches, the play he was doing, his awareness, his tackling, it looked really, really good. But then the few times after that I've seen him in midfield, he's not give me what I expected of Amrabat. I did a video on this actually on TikTok doing analysis of what he's good at from Morocco and Fiorentina. And since he's come to United, I haven't seen it so far. Maybe he needs a little bit more time to adapt. I don't know. But if he's starting Kobe Mainu over someone he signed in the summer, does that not tell you everything you need to know? I don't know. Nowhere near good enough to win the Champions League. Lots of better teams in Europa than your lot, so I'm not winning that. Mate, I'd probably agree, to be honest. And I don't think if any United fans sat here thinking we can win the Champions League, it's extremely naive. I'll say that straight off the bat. We're not going to win the Champions League. We probably won't even win the Europa League. But this sounds really, really pessimistic, but I'd rather not be in the Europa League. I'd rather just be able to focus on getting back into the Champions League if we do get knocked out, is what I'm saying. I don't want to hear that, no, like Thursday nights and all that bollocks. Can't be asked with it at all. So, yeah, no Europa League, hopefully. Can't be fussed with that. Again, talking about the hostile atmosphere, he said last year we couldn't win away from home. Now we can't win at home. We know what we can do and we are confident. We know how to deal with hostile atmospheres. He got asked about Facundo Pellistri as well, about potentially taking his opportunity. And he says Pellistri must now become a starter and take that step forward. He has to also make a step from the bench player coming in and having a good impact to a starting 11 player. We will see how quick that process will do. And I think that right side is really, really interesting at the moment because that's up for grabs, isn't it? I'm just get a bottle of water. Because that right-hand side is up for grabs. You know, we've tried Marcus Rashford there. It didn't have the best of performances against Everton, but Erik Ten Hag's always going to start Marcus Rashford. That's the issue. So whether it's on the right or left, he'll play. And then Garnacho's been in decent form at the minute. You would think he's still going to keep playing him. So then what do you do with your £85 million signing who you brought in? Are you absolutely back to the hills and think he's going to be this fantastic player? Do you bench him and leave him on the bench? Are the board going to be happy about that? What about Ahmad? Ahmad had a fantastic season with Sunderland. Still not heard anything about his injury yet or what's going on with him. And then Pellistri as well has had the odd cameo where I thought, well, he hasn't done worse than Antony, has he? So why is he not getting more minutes? That's the question. I don't know. I think Pellistri is an interesting one. I do think he deserves more minutes. Like I said, I don't think he's done anything wrong. He works extremely hard off the ball. The reason why Ten Hag plays Antony a lot is because he keeps his shape and he works hard off the ball. Pellistri does the same thing, but Pellistri's more direct as well. He'll run at wing backs and he'll put a cross into the box. And when you have someone like a Rasmus Højlund in that 18-yard box, that is exactly what you need. I think Ahmad. I really want to see Ahmad. And people who watch the channel Real Reds Talk will know I'm a huge fan of Ahmad, and I think he deserves an opportunity. I just don't know. I don't know what's up with him. I don't know if he's still injured. There's no clarity on these situations. And I read into this why Erik Ten Hag doesn't like to do this. He doesn't, in Netherlands, I think it is. It's kind of a thing where it's the player's prerogative if he wants to tell the media or whoever what the specific injury is. But sometimes they don't like doing it because then players target that injury. So if Palistra's got an ankle injury, for example, they don't like having that out in the media because, if Arsenal players get word of it or whatever, they may target it. So it's something that they've brought over from Netherlands that they do there. It's interesting. It is what it is. Obviously, as fans, we want to know why they have that specific injury. But like I said, it's not up to us, is it? It's the player's prerogative and the manager's prerogative. Sylvanius Charles is in the chat saying Palistri often makes an impact when he comes in. He does. He does has an impact off the bench, but that's what like Ten Hag's saying there. He has to come in and stop being a bench player and start being, be that starting 11. Maybe he doesn't feel like he's seen enough for him to do that. But then, if you're constantly playing Anthony on the right hand side, then what does that kind of say? Right, let's look at the quote from Bruno Fernandes then as well. He says, for us, it's really important to be in the Champions League. We want to be one of the best clubs in Europe. I think we're a long way off that, Bruno. He says, it's disappointing if we don't go through, but I'm not thinking about that being knocked out at the moment. He also got asked why he gave Marcus Rashford the penalty versus Everton. He said, it was in the moment. Is important for us, for strikers. It's about getting the first goal. We need our strikers to have the confidence to score them. And I think that's something I really like from Bruno. There is sides to his game where you don't like the petulance, you don't like the whining, especially if you're getting beat, and it's like a heavy score line and the camera keeps flicking to Bruno and he's like giving it all this at refs and you're like, just fucking shut up for a minute. Just play the game and focus because everyone else around you's, fucking losing their head and you're the worst one. You're the worst headless chicken in the pack. So that side of it, I don't like. But things like that we saw against Everton, he recognised his teammate was lacking in confidence. He's obviously Rashford's a huge player when he is on form for us. You saw that last season. So he's identified that. And it's like, I don't give a shit about myself. I want him to score because if he's scoring, the team's doing better. And that's what captains do. So I really, really like that from Bruno Fernandes. He got asked about Garnacho practicing overhead kicks, obviously because he scored an overhead kick against Everton. He says, I don't know if he is training that. It wouldn't be good for his back. He has that special talent, but I am more than happy for his work off the ball against Everton. For me, it was his best game. He's going to be such a good player for his age. And that's huge praise from Bruno Fernandes. And we have a couple of star boys at United, which is really, really nice. But the thing is with these star boys and potential, you need to nurture them in the right way and they need to come into the right environment. And the start to this season for Manchester United, you don't want to bring a young player into that. When you're scrapping for every single point, the team's disjointed. You want to bring them in where they have experienced leaders around him and where you're winning games because it'll just boost confidence and they'll learn more and they'll learn quicker. You throw them into a game where, I don't know, what game where we lost, it's been really disappointing. Like, even in the Champions League, think about the Copenhagen games, the Galatasaray games, throw them into any kind of games, you're like, ugh. Who's at me there? Someone's at me. I don't know why. Hi. Oh, hello. CR joined. Hello, CR. Get your comments in. Let me know your thoughts on these quotes. There's a couple more from Bruno Fernandes as well. He got asked about being captain. He says, I have to deal with that. I understand that the tough part is always coming after the first games. When results and performances aren't always as they should be, I know my numbers when I come made me a target. And that doesn't really make sense to me. But has Bruno Fernandes dropped off the face of a cliff? How do you think he has performed this season? Because he hasn't been at the races, has he? I think he set such a high bar when he came in under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, scoring 18 goals and having like 12 assists. Everyone was like, whoa, like take a step back. This guy is mega, mate. Because a lot of people were calling him a stat merchant when he was in Portugal. Came over, did it in the Premier League, broke Lampard's record, was it? For the most goals from a midfielder in a season, I think. But then isn't doing them kind of numbers now due to many different things. But has he been the Bruno? When you go watching for Portugal and how well he plays there. I know it's against like Luxembourg and international football is different, but I suppose the question I'm just asking is, are you happy with Bruno Fernandes? Simple question. Yes or no? Let me know in the comments. How do you feel about his performances this season? Because I'd be interested to see what you lot think. Jay McGrogan is in the chat. Big up to Jay McGrogan saying the young players need to be around the correct mindset too. And I think that's what Gary Neville said, didn't it? He said when he came in the 90s, he had, players like Bruce, and other kind of seasonal experienced players, Peter Schmeichel, etc. Um, and that's why they were successful, because he had that blend of young, exciting potential, but then experienced, seasoned leaders who had won things as well. That's the exact point I was just making before. You bring young players into this environment in a minute, we're starting to win games, which is better, of course. Um, but they lack a bit of leadership, lack a bit of confusion. I think Bruno is offering that, in fairness to him. Never say done attitude with Bruce, Pallister, etc. Yeah, yeah, and that's what United's built on, and it's our foundations, to be fair. Rash says needs to drop McTominay for Amrabat. I think the midfield's going to be interesting tomorrow. I think in my preview I put Amrabat, McTominay, and Bruno, just simply because I thought he wouldn't start Kobe Mainu at Galatasaray, but I was wrong. I'm happy if he starts. Fantastic, because I thought he was amazing against Everton. But yeah, I think maybe he'll go with um, Amrabat, Mainu, and Bruno. I'm not sure. I don't know how he's going to go about it. I think there's a couple of decisions that can be made throughout the team that'd be interesting. Will Varane come back in, or will it just be Maguire and Lindelof again? Will Bayindir come in? You've got that Turkish connection. Will Dallo start? Obviously, started against Everton, but you've got Zaha there. You remember what happened in the first game? Had a fucking nightmare. So will Wan-Bissaka come in for that calmness and that presence? And then the front three, will it be Højlund, Anthony, and Rashford? Oh, well, Rashford can't play, can it? So it's not going to be him. Probably going to be Anthony, Højlund, and Garnacho then, isn't it? Because he can't drop Garnacho after that Everton game. And if Højlund's available, this guy's the top scorer in Europe, or joint top scorer in Europe, with 5 goals, I think, alongside Alvaro Morata. So, yeah, someone's with a good shot there. Rash says he needs to go with Marshall on the left, Højlund if fit, and Garnacho. But I've never seen Garnacho on the right-hand side. I know he's done it in-game, like he switched over to that side, but I haven't seen him permanently there. I haven't seen him enough, which is strange, because I think he could play that role. I know Garnacho likes cutting in, but I don't know. I don't know. Is it Champions League we have tomorrow, or another cup? Champions League tomorrow night. Yeah. Galatasaray at Rams Park, which is just going to be so fucking hostile. Lucky Singh says, we had to stay. Amrabat has to play in games like this. Atmosphere horrible in Turkey. Yeah, well, that's why I leant towards it. But Kobe Mainu, I think that is the big test for him. So I know we were saying about Everton, but Galatasaray is a huge test for a young kid. So I think it'd be interesting to see. But yeah, we will be live for the game tomorrow with a pre-match build-up and a live review after the game as well, as always. So make sure you come and get involved in that. Check out the team lineups. We should be early on that one. Come get in the comment section. We'll have a news show tonight at 7 o'clock, so make sure you come join us for that. Loads and loads of content. There's shorts out, reels. Yeah, follow us on social media, TikTok, drop us a follow, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. And yeah, we'll see you later on for the news show. Take care of yourselves. Hope you've enjoyed this live press conference reaction. And we'll see you very, very shortly, guys. Take care, everyone. Have a lovely day. See you in a bit.